What's going on YouTube? Sunny here, and today we are doing a set review for the newest set, Chilling Reign, or basically the Japanese sets where they will be based around, which is Matchless Fighters, as well as Silver Lance and Jet Black Spirit. Today I am joined with two fellow streamers. We have N214 Game,
Hey, how's it going?
going good, going good. We also have Steuben here as well.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. Both are fantastic streamers, good friends of mine on Twitch, and I will leave links to their channels in the description. You should definitely check their channels out as well as my own channel as well, which, just as a reminder, I do stream every day except for Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, specializing in Pokemon TCG content. So, we're going to start off with Matchless Fighters. Now, of course, with any set, there's always a fair amount of stuff that's just not playable. So I wrote down everything we're just going to talk about in general. This is going to include the Vs, the trainers, the energies, as well as a few of random single prize Pokemon. We're actually going to start with this Beedrill right here, which the first attack, it's a stage 2 single strike that it only does 110 and you discard an energy attached to it that's not very good. But it also has an attack persistent sting that reads that if your opponent's active Pokemon has a special energy attached to it, it's just knocked out it's just knocked out automatically. A little stutter there, but it's fine. So with first reading this, it does seem like a good effect. However, it's a stage 2, it's very situational, and I don't think it would see play. Steuben, what would be your opinion on that as well?
I think in Expanded, you could have a fun deck with the Kakuna from Evolutions, where it's basically like Froggedier's attack, where you can get more Kakuna on your bench. And then you can kind of maybe go crazy mixing this up with other Beedrills, but in Standard, it's kind of inconsistent for a Stage 2. If your opponent doesn't play any special energy, you're limited there. And if they're not playing anything, you're really only going to do 110 per turn, and you're just going to get one shot by any V or VMAX in this process.
Correct. Yeah, it's just standard compared to expanded. You're just so limited to what you can do in standard as in comparison to expanded. And to one, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think my biggest qualm with it is the better attack being persistent sting with the automatic knockout. We don't see every deck playing special energy, so like Stu was saying, you can be stuck with just a vanilla 110 and you have to discard your energy, so you're never going to be able to um, consistently get like a second attacker ready to go unless you're playing like what is it, the Cherum, where you can rain down grass energy on non-rule box guys.
That's
But
about
then
it.
like a stage 1 and a stage 2, and the more of that you're throwing in just kind of gets inconsistent. So it'd be a pass for me.
Yeah, exactly. My point is that so no good in standard, maybe possibly okayish in expanded, but other than that, nothing to write home about, nothing to really mention. That's probably the last we're gonna hear of this card.
I was gonna say, unless like I can't remember off the top of my head, but if in expanded they have like I know there's like was it Caterpie and Metapods that have like the quick evolution ability. I don't think there's any Kakunas that do that, but if there were, that might be like the only time you could really make a case for this.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Beedrill is a slow evolver. We have no Force of Giant Plants anymore and expanded. It's just not gonna do it. All right, so next on the list, we're going down. We've got Blaziken VMAX, which 320 HP has for a fire energy 60 and they can't retreat. But for two colorless, you do 130 and you can attach an energy card. Now note that it says energy card from your discard pile to two of your bench Rapid Strike Pokemon. So now, in looking at this, I wanted to at least, in a way, sort of compare this to the current Victini VMAX that's being played right now, which does a lot more damage if there's a V Pokemon in front of you. That's about it, hits harder. However, with the VMAX for Blaziken, it is less damage, but you get to accelerate energies. Any energy you want. Two different Rapid Strike Pokemon. I think the damage aspect is lacking on it, but I do like the energy acceleration. I don't think it's going to be like a meta breaker, but there's a little bit of potential behind there. Steuben?
Well, I think with the VMAX, you can attach the Rapid Strike energy to meet that requirements, and it is just 2 colorless, and it fits the bill there. Sort of like a pseudo DCE. But again, like, what are you attaching an energy to? Ultimately, when you already have access to Rapid Strike energy that you can search out every turn with Octillery, if
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
building that engine. So I don't really see a viable reason to play it, especially when you're only doing 130. You're not even going to 2-shot any other VMAXs in play.
That's a 3-shot. It's not good for like the damage wise. I mean, like I said before, we do appreciate the effect of attaching energies and energy acceleration, but like I said, and like you said as well, if you're not hitting hard, then it's like, so what? End to one.
Yeah, I kind of agree there. With the damage output not turning anything into a 2-shot, and right now there's not enough like viable rapid strike Pokemon that you can consider that energy attach effect to. Depending on like how long they continue, you know, the single strike and rapid strike, the better the card can get because we might have, more reasons to want that attack. But right now, I don't think it does enough for. I think that comparison to Victini VMAX is kind of like the best way to look at it. Especially right now, anytime somebody mentions a fire Pokemon, my automatic response has been, "Is it better than anything else you can welder to right now?" And this just isn't.
Exactly. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there. And you're also right too. We don't know how long this mechanic is going to last for with single and rapid strike. We don't know how long we're going to have it for, how long they're going to stretch it. So it's just in a big unknown where it's like, okay, we kind of have to just leave it off to the side for now, probably even for ever, I would say. But other than that, it's not the worst card. It's not the worst card, but it's just it doesn't really fit the bill.
I was gonna say, if you find them cheap, like under $10, or like you need to fill in like a trade with your friend, go ahead and pick them up because like I said, if we continue single and rapid strike for a while, it may get better, but like don't go out of your way and spend big bucks on it.
Yeah, it's definitely something I can see being a cheap card right off the bat. So, all right, cool. Let's go down the list. We have now Inteleon, which, first off, we want to mention the Sobble that was brought up to my attention earlier, how it has this really nice attack that for a colorless energy, you get to search your deck for 3 Rapid Strike basic Pokemon and put them on your bench. So, a really nice call for family effect to get, more Sobble out. Maybe even like stuff like Remoraid for searching or stuff like that. Which that's a nice little effect to go with what it evolves into eventually, which is this Inteleon right here, which is for 2 colorless energy, like 70, and it's just 2 for 70. That's not very good. But the ability is reminiscent of Decidueye GX from the Sun and Moon era. All I can really say is like it's useful for the ability in that aspect. It can be a good card, and it's just going to depend on, okay, what can we put this in? I know there's plenty of damage spread decks out there, for sure, so it could fit in there in those regards. It is a stage 2, which is a little rough, but I mean, Decidueye was a stage 2, but it had better attacks. Steuben, thoughts?
So, from what we've seen recently with Japanese lists, the Sobble is being paired with the Drizzile and Inteleon from Sword and Shield base to get those item searches from those evolution abilities, as well as this Inteleon here too. They're really pairing it up with the Ice Rider Calyrex as sort of like a supplemental engine to finish off KOs. I mean, we're gonna get to the Ice Rider in a little bit here, but I definitely think it's a really good partner for it.
Definitely a very fair assessment. And to one, your thoughts?
Yeah, that was my first thing. Is the Sobble's good, the Inteleon's good, but we also want to have the Drizzile and Inteleon to make this go a little bit faster. I haven't looked too much at the Ice Rider decks, but evolving turn after turn is good as long as it can happen. And I think the 2 damage counters helps with math here and there. I always like the ability to take KOs not on an attack, so I think that's also good for it. And it does have, the Rapid Strike moniker, so it does get like any of the support that you have for Rapid Strike Pokemon going for it as well.
Right, exactly. I do like that it does work with like Rapid Strike stuff because there's a decent amount of support for it, so this could definitely work for sure. But yeah, I think overall, like this is definitely a card that has potential in it. It can be run. It probably will be run. We'll just have to see what happens. I know usually like Japanese meta compared to our meta is usually different. A lot of things don't really translate over entirely. I
Yeah,
think
they
that's
can be pretty apples and oranges at times.
exactly, yeah. All right, so we'll go down over here. We've got Dracozolt VMAX, which I'm just gonna be straight up. I'm not digging it. Like neither of them, the V or the VMAX. I mean, the main attacks that you would use with this, they run off just one lightning. I mean, you have 30, and they can't attach an energy to their defending Pokemon. Cool, I can just switch or attach it to a bench. The VMAX 60, and yeah, sure, put 12 damage counters on it if it gets hit. But it's like, okay. Urshifu's still a very popular deck right now. This can still get one shot anyway. And it's just the damage output isn't really there. I don't think this will be playable. Steuben?
I do like the Trap Spark attack. It reminds me of Turtonator GX a little bit, especially with the it's a single energy, so you could play the energy that lets you draw 2 cards when you attach. I'm brain farting the name there. So you can attach that, draw 2, and then eventually if they hit it and you're not playing against weakness, you could Cheryl it. It's got 330 HP, so it's a little bit higher than most of the 310, 320s that are floating around. But if you're in an Urshifu meta, I don't think so. Single Strike would already eat it anyways. Rapid can potentially knock it out very easily as well. But I think as a gimmick deck, I think it'd be kind of cool with like being able to Cheryl every turn, just hitting for 60, and if they hit you, you put 12 counters on them. You could increase that with like Rocky Helmet if you really wanted to, but it's just probably a meme deck at best.
I think you hit the nail right on the head there, how it could be like gimmick slash meme deck. I think you did hit the nail right on the head. And to one, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I first started Dracozolt, I stopped at your opponent can't attach energy from their hand because I was like, low energy attack, low energy cost, low damage. So I just thought it was they can't attach energy from their hand, which would have made the card a lot better. But switching things to the bench and whatever mitigates that. Trap Spark, same thing. If I don't want to get if I'm not going to one shot you, I'll just bosses you or escape rope you and not deal with the 12 damage counters. And the fighting weakness is just a bad weakness to have until the Urshifus are completely gone. And you can't even really say, post rotation we lose Mewtwo, so one of Urshifu's hardest counters leaves, and you still have the Calyrexes, or not both of them, but the Shadow Rider to deal with them. But we're starting to see like a meta multi-sided shape. I can't even say triangle because you'll have Shadow Rider to cancel out the Urshifus, and then you'll have the Eternus to deal with that. So it doesn't even seem like we'll really be gone from the Urshifus when we lose Mewtwo as a counter and Jirachi as like another counter there. So I still think fighting weakness isn't going to be good to have come August anyway.
Exactly. Everything still sticks, and even besides the weakness, of course. Like I said, there's just way too many switching options to even consider this something to be like meta. That's all I could really think about that. But all right, we're gonna go down to the next one, the Galarian Articuno V, which it's a interesting card. I'll say that much. It is interesting. Was it 110 for a psychic and 2 colorless, and they're confused? Not very good. But the effect for a basic Pokemon, discard 2 cards to draw a card. Now here's the main thing I need to know. Discarding 2 to draw 1. Is it worth it? I think in a way it can be. Because let's be honest, in Pokemon, your hands can be pretty thick. it can be a pretty thick card, or hand size, I should say. But in the same time, it almost makes Kricketune seem like the more superior one, in my opinion. Steuben?
Best case scenario in standard, you use it as a way to use the mustards a lot easier. Other than that, I can't really think of a partner for it. Its attack, sorry, is 110 and confuses for 3 energy.
Nope.
I really don't vibe with it. I mean, if you're gonna, discard cards and draw, you're better off just playing research for your turn. To be honest with you.
Yeah, like I said, research, and like I said, even like when it comes to like basic draw Pokemon, Kricketune still turns out to be the better one anyway. But I mean, you are right in the fact that you could potentially get mustard plays off with that. That's about it. End to one.
When I first look at it, all I think of is Mad Party. It's another way to get your partiers into the discard pile after you've used your Poltegeist. I always get the basic and the stage 1 confused. To get like a couple extra Mad Partiers in. I think it kind of falls into the realm of being like the 61st card for a lot of decks, where if you had like one more space, you might see like, okay, I'm playing metal, I can discard 2 metals and try to draw metal saucers or, whatever. Because there's like a lot of times where, some decks make like those big reach turns where they spam Dedenne, Crobat, Research, and you're still a card shy, and you're like, if I could draw one more card, maybe. But I don't think it's ever going to justify like the deck space for putting it in.
Right. Yeah, like I said, there's just better ones to play for sure, and like I said, you can do like cute things with it, like you said for Mad Party. But other than that, like I said, there's better draw Pokemon. There's much better ones. And let's be honest, this is no Zoroark. This is definitely no Zoroark, that's for sure. If y'all remember Zoroark GX, which who am I kidding? All you know that card. But all right, so
we could never forget Zoroark.
Never forget. All right, so next we've got Galarian Zapdos V, which right off the bat, right when it was first announced, we're thinking, okay, this is the Eternatus killer right here. For sure. It one-shots it, no questions asked, no concerns. Well, except for Weakness Guard energy like they've been playing, but... Oh, no, wait, hold on. Oh, no, it actually gets rid of the special energy right away. I was like, that went right over my head. Yeah, just like, even besides for like Eternatus, just the ability is just insane in general. Because let's be honest, people are playing V Pokemon. This is a popular thing to play. So I think either or, this can be a very cheap attack anyway. Even if you're not playing against Eternatus, it can still be decent in that regard. Steuben, thoughts?
I know when we first saw this card over a month ago, everyone's like, oh, it's the Eternatus killer, it's the Eternatus killer, it's the Eternatus killer. But I mean, we still have Colossal in format, which could potentially get better after rotation. We still have both the Urshifus and all of the single strike and rapid strike support. I definitely think something in like some sort of like maybe a Ditto box with Aurora energy. This could see a lot more play depending on matchups there. I don't know if anyone's just going to willy-nilly just shove it into whatever deck just to counter Eternatus when we're going to go into a triangle format anyways. So it's hard to say, but I know when we first saw this card, a lot of people were like, oh, cool, we can finally deal with Eternatus and problem solved. But if you look at the results from the past couple big tournaments online, like Eternatus is still there, and it's right beside the Urshifu deck. So when we go into a triangle format, I think this just becomes a liability when you're playing against Calyrex.
Right. Which that's going to be start seeing a lot of play, and then it's just going to be like, okay, we just have this there. It's there, cool. It can handle this one deck. It can even attack for cheap, but other than that, it can still be dealt with. What's your thoughts, N1?
Yeah, it definitely, when it first came out, was the Tornadus killer because it was the deck that ran the most V Pokemon in it, so you're going to get the most mileage out of Fighting Instinct. It does seem like a card that gets progressively better when rotation hits and we lose like all the GX Pokemon presumably, and everybody's going to have more Vs to their deck. And I mean, even if you just consider that they have a Crobat down and their attacker, you've knocked 2 off the attack cost. And like if their attacker's down and their Crobat's down, they're probably going to have at least another attacker. So most of the time, you should be able to use the attack for 1 energy, which is super efficient. But at the same time, it is going to become like the Calyrex liability Pokemon, and not do the job that it's needed to do. Like you can't dunk anybody with it because to pull the attack off, they're going to need a heavy bench size anyway. So I think it's like a decent card, but it's just not outstanding anymore from when we first saw it.
Yeah, definitely very true there. Because remember, this set was revealed, it was revealed a month ago, this set was. And then next thing you know, the Calyrexes came out, and then next thing you know, it's just like, okay, decent card, but other than that, yeah. It can still, I think I'll still see a pinch of play. Maybe not that much. It's going to be hard to decide right now for sure. But I think you both definitely have some very solid points there. For sure. Now, here's a card that we're talking on the side about, which is this Passimian right here. That allows Rapid Strike Pokemon's attacks to do 30 more damage to opponents' benched V and GXs. That's a pretty neat ability. However, you're only allowed to use 1 ability. So it's only a 1 of. I think the bench space is I'm a little iffy on like the bench space part of it, but I think maybe in something with Urshifu VMAX, the Rapid Strike 1, you manage your bench well, this could be a pretty solid card to run indeed. But I'm still iffy about bench management, if that makes any sense. But it's definitely a nice ability though. Steuben, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it'll shine post rotation when Mew's gone. Dedene's gone, so you will have more bench space. You don't have to worry about bench barrier. To my knowledge, there's no bench protection other than the Parasol going forward with rotation happening. So I think this is an easy 1 of shoved into Rapid Urshifu. So you would do 150 to those benched Pokemon, and then if worst case scenario you fling with the Passimian, and you could finish off something that has 170 for a single energy on a single prize Pokemon. It could make the prize trade a little bit better in your favor.
Right, yeah. And to one, your thoughts?
I think this card is good right now with the Urshifu VMAX. Like the winning lists are already playing scoop up nets, and like the only matchup where you're not really going to have the space to get it down is against Mewtwo. But the throwing coach ability lets you like throw 150 on a Dedenne, and then like you slam down a Zigzagoon the next turn and pick the knockout up. Theoretically, you also have enough scoop up nets to hit like a Crobat for knockout. The Fling lets you take the knockout on a Crobat. So I think like even right now it's really good with being able to get to that 160 with just 1 Zigzagoon ping. So that way you could like theoretically bosses orders like a second Dedenne and double KO Dedennes for 4 prizes with it. So I think it's good now, and it just gets better.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point right there as well. Pretty good point right there. Like I said, even with Mew even being a thing in the first place, people are still playing their Urshifus. They're working around it. I think like I said, there's definitely potential behind this card for sure. I think it could be really good. All right, next we got Galarian Moltres V. So, which, in my opinion, it's like actually, which I mean, you can call me out on it if you want. I think it's actually like the weaker of the birds. I mean, yeah, it lets you attach an energy right to it. However, you can only use 1 of these per turn. So it's like, okay, attach the energy, attach for turn, and then do what? The other, what is it, Turbo Patch or whatever? So it's like a little mini acceleration, but not an excellent acceleration. And the attack is just 190 and then 30 to itself, which honestly, the only thing this actually takes care of is Dragapult, but even then, I don't think it's that strong. Steuben?
I see it as a partner for other decks, like Turbo Dark. It's an extra energy card every turn. If you want to play Alcremie, it's an extra energy card to do 60 more damage every turn with the cake powers there. I could see it being played with energy switches and those Weezings that are coming out that we'll get to eventually for basically turning that single into double energy and then discarding it and doing even more damage with, Alcremie, or we go back to Turbo Dark shenanigans. I think it could fit potentially there. It also could help as a one-off in Eternatus. That way it can sit on the bench and accumulate energy, and you could, again, energy switch to an Eternatus. That way if they knock out your first Eternatus, you have another one on the bench that doesn't have any energy on it at all. You have this, energy in hand and an energy switch. It could let you swing that returning turn.
And to one, your thoughts?
Yeah, Steuben kind of hit like everything that I was thinking about with this guy being Eternatus and the Weezings that we'll talk about in the next set, and utilizing the energy switch. I think is like the best way. The only other use really that I see is another way to get quick energy turn one and expanded for Dark Pulse kind of attacks in Turbo Dark. But yeah.
Yep, definitely fair points indeed. How it's going to be more of that like utility partner for those kinds of decks. Like I said, that's good in that regard. Other than that, like you're not attacking with it. But I mean, hey, it's good for that constant energy acceleration to power up some pretty good attacks. That's about all I can see it doing. But it's okay. All right. Now moving on over to Galarian almost call it Slowking VMAX, which a single strike Pokemon that poisons the Pokemon and does 12 damage counters in between turns instead of one, and it also does just 10 damage by itself. It's interesting. You can pair it with Toxicroak, sure. Yeah, you can definitely pair it with Toxicroak, but I think even then, without the fact that there's just switch options anyway, you can just get out of that poison easily, and then I don't know if it's like that fast enough to knock stuff out. That's my biggest problem. And the fact that this also has fighting weakness too, I think that hurts it a lot. Steuben?
Yeah, I really don't care for it. I think you could make a meme deck out of it with Toxicroak, Dusk Island to handle the switching. But yeah, I really don't care for it much. You could also increase your damage with single strike energy too, for your base. You can maybe go 30 or 50 once you have the 2 energy on there, plus the 12 counters. You could do 170 for 2 theoretically, or more if you have the Toxicroaks. But I think it's a stretch. I think it's a lot of setting up, and it's just kind of a meme deck, if anything.
Exactly. It's too much. It's way too much. And to one.
I feel like it's a deck that would only really shine in formats with single prizers where like 130 damage is relevant. But with the amount of switch cards and healing options and like Cheryl for a lot of like the VMAX decks, it's just not enough for what goes on with them.
Right, exactly. So the overall consensus is basically it's cute, it's nice, but it's not gonna be a meta deck like at all. That's basically I think where we're at right here. All right, but yeah, I think that brings us over next to our next Pokemon, which is Spiritomb. Which Spiritomb actually caught the attention because of the fact that it is a killer to a deck that's popular right now, which is Mad Party. Which not only do you take whatever Pokemon is in your opponent's discard pile, and then shuffle them back into the deck, you also put damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon as well, which, honestly, like, the only card that you would see this in, or did I see card? The only deck you would see that in. It's fine. It's fine. We're going one straight shot anyway. But, yeah, the only deck you would actually see this in would be to deal with Mad Party. It just deals with Mad Party, nothing else. It's nice. It might scare away Mad Party. It might not. And then it's gonna, you play it at first, and you're just like, okay, we play against Mad Party, we deal with it, but then people stay away from Mad Party, but then it turns into a dead card in your deck, it can eventually turn into a dead card as people, shy away from Mad Party, but that's yet to be determined at all. Steuben?
Yeah, you pretty much nailed it. Its attack is honestly a fusion of Oricorio and Karen mixed together, which people played and expanded as like their Night March counter, built in. So other than that, I could only see it maybe like late game where you're like your opponent's got like a couple cards left, and they've got the boss in there, and you could potentially slap it down and fill their deck back up with useless Pokemon and maybe disrupt like them from drawing that last boss for game. But yeah, I don't think of it as like every deck play one.
Definitely a very fair assessment, and that's actually nice to go along with the points I made as well. Definitely a nice little add-on for sure. And to one, your thoughts?
I think I'd like to play this in like some of Eternatus decks because sometimes 270 isn't enough, but then like if you're only sacrificing one prize to clean some stuff up, it could work out well for you. I also like the idea of like stamping your opponent to one, then shuffling a whole bunch of Pokemon back into their deck to disrupt the odds of them getting like a solid top deck out of it. So that'd be where I stand on it.
Very nice, very nice. Which, yeah, and let's be honest, like too in the late game, if you have like a deck full of just junk or whatever, and you have like one card in hand, then it's like, okay, I'm kind of stuck right here. I'm kind of relying on the top deck more than ever.
And I think it's very much like the definition of a 61st card for a lot of decks too, where you want to play it, but at the same time, do you sacrifice consistency to play it? And I don't think a lot of decks will. I think like any deck like Eternatus, where you have like a high count of Pokemon anyway, taking out one of like your Evital's or a Hoopa isn't as detrimental as other decks trying to fit it.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, definitely some very fair points from both of you as well. Alright, so let's, alright, so at this point, we're just gonna, for Matchless Fighters, we just got trainers and energy left. We'll try to shoot through these as quickly as possible. Welcoming Lantern, that chooses a single strike support from your discard pile, puts it in your hand. That's Versus Seeker for single strike supporters. Yes, in a single strike deck, yes, this is a very good card. This should definitely see some play in there, depending on, the other single strike mechanics and all that with the supporters. Steuben?
I see it going well with Bruno for the most part. And then when we get into the next sets, I see it being paired with, bear with me here for a split second, the Flannery. I think it's like Flannery's best friend. It lets like any deck play Flannery.
Yeah. There's also another one
he's
that we're
a
going to get to
one-off.
as well.
Yeah, Flannery isn't into the next set, but I think that's the best partner for it for sure.
Right. And to one?
Yeah, I think it's good because it also goes with their tower card where you can discard your single strike supporters a little more freely to get the 2 draws off of it, and then you can still use the lantern to get them back at some point. So
It's basically like the format we deal with in Expanded, where we can just mindlessly discard supporters with no repercussions.
Yep.
Which I like that. I like that. So yeah, we definitely agree this is a good card. Alright, Echoing Horn is next. We've got put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto the bench, aka Target Whistle. First thing that comes to mind is ADP is going to probably play this. And I think it's solid in that regards. Steuben?
I don't know if ADP will necessarily play it because they already play Mawile. They're kind of like two sides of the same coin. If people learn to start playing around Mawile better before rotation, then Echo Horn could take the lead there. But I think it's going to be something that Rapid Strike will take advantage of more or less. Not only is it already a Rapid Strike card, but being able to hit, that 120 on the bench with the Urshifu. Oh man, I know you've got a Crobat in your discard pile. Cool, I can horn it up and then boss it up and then cheese that for game and knock out a single prizer with it and take 3 prizes that way too. I think it's definitely going to be abused with Rapid Strike Urshifu more than it would be ADP.
That's fair. That's fair for sure. And to one, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is one where I missed the Rapid Strike on it on the first read through of it. So letting it fit in with if you play the Octillery build of anything, having the free search to get that's definitely good. I do think that Rapid Strike VMAX makes a better use of it than pretty much anything else. The only reason I see like ADP doing this is like, you know, I can't remember what streamer said it, but where they say every 3 weeks Decidueye is the best deck in format because everybody forgets about it. Like, Decidueye has learned to play around a while if they're like a competent Decidueye player, but it's going to be a lot harder to play around Echoing Horn because they do depend on like discarding their Rowlets once they set up. So I could see it, every few weeks coming into a ADP deck if they're anticipating the rise of Decidueye that week.
All right, so yeah, we're basically going like back and forth on, we put it in, we take it out, we put it in, we take it out, basically. And you are right about Decidueye, how it just keeps like popping up randomly. Indeed. Yes, indeed. So yeah, basically like split decisions on that. All right, the next is Galarian Breastplate, which all this does was just lets Galarian Pokemon take 30 less damage, which, okay. What are we pairing this with? What are we pairing this with? I'm trying to think like right off the bat. One of the only few that come to mind is maybe Galarian Stunfisk. That's about it. Maybe something else. There's like, God, it's like there's something that's got to come to mind here, but I don't think it's gonna exactly be like a.
There's a Galarian Surfetched in the set that gets bonuses if it has a tool attached. So I think that was kind of what they were shooting for with this.
Could be, yeah. Which,
But
yeah, I'll let you.
overall,
Yeah,
week.
right. Yeah, I'll let you. Yeah, Antoine, I'll let you do your little spiel first.
Yeah. I think if we ever see like a good tanky Galarian Pokemon, this card is good. But as a general item card, I just don't see where I would find the deck space to play it in. Like, there's times where like I think like math with some attacks with Vitality Band would be better, and I still don't play Vitality Band in a lot of decks. I think it competes. The tool card spot is like important for so many things. Air Balloon is always going to beat out so many things to give you like a pivot after knockouts. I just don't see where this is going to find a place to fit.
Right, exactly. It's a very fair point indeed. And you are right. Spots for tool cards are very important indeed. You don't want to run like either like too many different tools, or you don't want to run like a weird split. It can get very funny for sure. Steuben?
I'd rather just play Big Charm if you're really going for something similar. It'll go on whatever instead. This can only go on specific Pokemon.
Yeah, Galarian. Which, yep, I think you more or less hit the nail on the head on that one. Plain and simple. I'm not sure if you had anything else to add to that at all.
Not really.
Yeah, so it's very straightforward. Probably won't see much of that card. All right, so next up we've got Karen's Conviction, which is actually a single strike supporter that lets single strike Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for each prize card they already took. I like this. And especially, like I said, with the fact that we do have the Welcoming Lantern in the set, this could be something that you can maybe play like one of, possibly two of, get that extra damage out. And it goes along with the theme of what Single Strike already does. Get you over that little hump, say if you don't have enough Single Strike energies to take whatever knockouts you have. I think this can definitely be a solid card in that theme. Steuben?
Yeah, I think it's a solid one-off. I wouldn't try and fit any more than one in a list. It really just helps you maybe come back harder. Theoretically, like if you've got a damaged single strike and you've got that Scroll of Scorn on it, and you're like, oh man, I'm 10, 15, I don't know why I said 15. That's not even possible, but 10 or 20 damage away from a KO with what you have on you already. Karen could come in clutch then.
Yeah,
to round out those KOs.
Yeah, I think we've all seen the heartbreak of just being that little pinch off before.
Mm-hmm.
And this adds that nice little layer to it. And to one, your thoughts?
I think this is like the card the Primate deck is needed for a little bit right now. Like a lot, like the was it Steamy Mad Strike or whatever, just falls short of numbers on a lot of things. I think like as the game goes on, this lets you hit those numbers that you need to hit. So I think that's good in that regard. I also think like it kind of fits our theme of the longer the single strike rapid strike mechanic goes, the better the card can get. So
Okay. Yeah, so I think we can all agree that, yeah, this definitely can be a very solid card as a nice little one of, and that goes with, like I said, the Welcoming Lantern before, so it's going to be a very nice card in that regard. All right, and we're going to, once again, move down the list over to Kalara, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is essentially a reprint of Aaron's collection, if I'm not mistaken, but better, which lets you take two Pokemon up to two Pokemon, up to two basic energy from your discard pile, and just put them back in your hand straight up. I do like this. I do like this. Obviously, maybe there's like other supporters you want to play in your turn, but maybe in like a stage 2 deck, maybe perhaps. But I think it's definitely solid for sure. Steuben?
I mean, I see comparisons with it to Sonya and Nessa. It's really going to be deck specific here.
That's fair too.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a staple anything. It's just potentially a nice supplement to whatever kind of archetype you're playing. If it really depends on like discarding energy or getting whatever else out of there. I could see it maybe as a partner for Calyrex to recover whatever other Pokemon, and that way you can attach those psychic energy yet again and then draw even more cards, so it like kind of makes up the loss for you not playing a draw supporter for the turn. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I said, not bad, but also situational as well. I think you've nailed it right there. And to one, your thoughts?
yeah, when it was just Matchless Fighter to look at, I wasn't terribly impressed with supporter because there wasn't anything that seemed to pair up well with it. But like Stu was mentioning, I think it's a good partner for Shadow Rider. It can also be a good partner for Ice Rider since you've got a Frostmoth and can power stuff up on your bench with it. Um, so, overall, it's going to be deck specific for sure, but I think it's one of those cards that some people are going to just flock to because they're like, if you ever play in like a local league again, you'll always have those players that go, I don't like playing Professor's Research because I have to get rid of all my Pokemon and all my energy because I can't play them.
Jeez.
And then you're like, okay, fine, throw this Clara in because now you drew 7 cards and you can get them back at some point.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I think we're pretty much all saying that, yeah, deck specific, and that's all there really is to it. All right, so next on the list we have probably one of the more talked about supporters for only one obvious reason, and that is Avery. Draw 3 cards, and your opponent discards their bench Pokemon until they have just 3 bench Pokemon left, which obviously, when this card came out, we were all thinking, okay, this kills Eternatus. Okay, it kills Eternatus, and what else? That's it. It kills Eternatus, in a way. But other than that, it's like you wouldn't play this against anything else that would say just anything else that runs like Crobats and Dedennes where they can just discard those if you play that. So I'm like, cool. You played a hop that let me discard my Dedenne and Crobat from play so you can't touch them. But obviously against Eternatus, this is probably the only deck I see this really... Not deck, this card doing well against. Steuben?
I feel like if it was draw 3, then you discard Pokemon from your bench, it would be a staple in every deck.
Oh,
but
for sure.
with this wording, I don't really much care for it. You're only gonna potentially do it to maybe get rid of a threat, but then again, they choose what they're discarding. If you were choosing what they were discarding, then it would be a lot better that way too. I think they could have taken this card in either of those directions to make it a lot better.
Yeah, instead of, as far as like going against, like really just one deck right there. And to one, your thoughts?
Yeah, it just kind of fits the theme of Matchless Fighter being the kicking them with the stop Eternus is already dead theme, but then we get Path to the Peak in the next set that we're talking about, and that just does this thing's job better. Yeah, there were ways, kind of like Steuben was saying, that you could have made it better. That you choose which Pokemon they discard, you discard your bench, or even if they made it both players discard Pokemon from their bench until they have three bench Pokemon, all would have been a better wording on the card. And just to be clear, though, we don't talk about Hop, we talk about Tierno. So this is playing a Tierno with an extra effect. So
I'm sorry, Charon's on line 1. He's got a urgent message for you.
Oh boy, those be some rival fighting words right there. So
the next video, Charon versus Tierno versus Hop.
for sure.
What about how? What about how?
How did that come up?
Oh, jeez. How did that come up? No.
I'm not sorry.
It's okay. I don't know. But yeah, I think overall, I think we're basically in a way we're saying Avery is in a way just overhyped. Would you say that's maybe the appropriate term for that before I move on to Brawly?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Probably.
Which speaking of Brawly, here's Brawly. It's basically Sobble in supporter form. Which, like I said, we were talking about that earlier. In that regards, I would say I think I'm just playing Sobble if I had to choose between the two. Steuben?
I think it's Rapid Strike Bridget, pretty much at that point. Yeah, it's not bad, but
No, it's
again,
definitely not.
The Sobble line, it's just superior.
Right, and I think the one other thing I want to add too is we're talking about like two different time periods as well. When Bridget was played, in comparison to the rules we have now, where on your first turn it was basically as simple as Ultra Ball, Lele, Bridget, play Bridget, set your bench up. We're talking about two different time periods here, and like I said, this isn't bad, but it's maybe the term I'm looking for, maybe like an outdated concept, maybe, possibly.
It's an average supporter.
Yeah, it's average, I think. Yeah.
A balanced supporter, it's not a bad card. It's not even outdated. It's just balanced, and I think that's what throws a lot of people off of liking it. Is that something like Research is broken, something like Marnie is broken. Anytime somebody who plays Magic asks me, what's Pokemon like, I'm like, Wheel of Fortune that you can't play. Yeah, you play 4 copies of Pokemon. So many cards in Pokemon are just overly powerful that balanced cards get overshadowed so quickly.
Right, yeah. It's definitely like overshadowed for sure. I mean, like I said, not impactful, but balanced, but it could work. It could work.
And I'll say the opposite, that if I were trying to do something between this or rather play this, because I don't the Sobble's probably not going to be my attacker for one, and 2, I don't want to commit the attack for the turn necessarily to just putting Pokemon on my bench.
Right. So yeah, actually, yeah. So that's basically about it. Yeah. So speaking of which, now we move on to the final card of Matchless Fighters that we're going to talk about, and it's Dynatree Hill. It's a stadium, and it's Pokemon in play can't be healed. That is both you and your opponent, which, duh. Now, I look at this, and I'm thinking, okay, this versus the Mimikyu, what would I rather play? I know, it would be deck specific. It's like, say, if you don't, have healing cards in your deck at all, then yeah, this could work. But in a way, it does kind of make me still want to run Mimikyu if I don't mind using the bench spot up. Steuben?
Yeah, it's gonna be deck specific. I think this is like a Cheryl killer, for sure. I think this covers more of Cheryl, and I guess in the term of with Calyrex, we're gonna probably be looking at those suspicious food tins too. But I mean, Mimikyu kills Mallow and Lana more than it does anything else. So in a post-rotation world, I mean, this is probably the end-all be-all. A lot of decks aren't going to have good stadiums. Most decks are probably just going to shove Path to the Peak in. But this could be something that we could see alongside that, depending on what it is. Like if you have a bad matchup against Corviknight or Sandaconda, or I guess if we can meme, we can go with Arctozolt, something like that. Then Dynatree Hill will probably be a little bit better that way, because that Pokemon could just sit in the active. Mimikyu only prevents the bench Pokemon from being healed, so it's kind of like a tear between the two there.
Right, yeah. End to one.
I think this card gets a lot better if we ever see something else like damage swap. Not the Tapu Lele that moved all your opponent's damage counters around. I think that's when this card would shine, where you don't want your opponent to ever have a chance to heal. Otherwise, I feel like more decks are going to shove in like Path to the Peak because it answers more cards than this does. But anything where you're depending on like slow rolling and stacking damage counters, like this is going to be your better card. But I think more like it's more situational than other stadiums we're seeing.
That's very true. Yeah, like I said, like you said, like right there, stadiums that actually do more, that'll probably see more play. Other than that, aside from this, like I said, very deck specific. That's about all we can really say about that.
And I think like another big thing to note with stadiums, like going forward, especially since like the next set has two really good stadiums, is you're now thinking about including deck space for Marshadow because we still have to deal with Chaotic Swell.
We do, yes, we do, for sure. So, all right. So now we're actually moving on to Silverlance and Jet Black Spirit. So on my list right here, I've actually wrote down all the cast forms in general. We're just gonna we're not gonna spend too much time on the cast forms. We'll basically just say like, okay, for a meme deck like cast form, would this cast form work? We're gonna start with the Sunny form, which, hey, that's me. But so yeah, all the cast forms have an ability forecast. If you have 8 or more stadium cards in your discard pile, you ignore all energy in general to this Pokemon. So the first one we've got, it's 150 damage, and you must discard a stadium in play in order to use the attack. Well, I mean, we're already running a stadium-heavy deck, basically, so I'm just like, okay, get a stadium, discard it. Why not? But it can definitely lose steam. Steuben.
Yeah, I think it's just like you'd have to have that 9th stadium to get full effect out of it at that point, But
Right.
you're gonna play more than 8 to consistently get them in the discard. But I think all of the cast forms are in that same gimmick line as like the Mow Rotom, the Wash Rotom, the Frost Rotom from Ultra Prism and stuff from back in the day. There could be some fringe use for it depending on like how the meta goes with all the different types floating around, but I don't think it's like a serious contender as a deck.
Yep, just more fun meme deck, if anything. And to one?
Yeah, I think it's going to have the same problem that the other Rotom saw, which was trying to make sure you have enough what do you call it, stadiums in your discard pile versus items. Like this is one place where you could make the argument that Galarian Articuno could be good. Get your stadiums in there. You do have like Stadium Nav, which is like a less consistent adventure bag. So that's problematic. And then like trying to load your hand with like stadiums and discard them at the same time, just I think like you can make a really strong counter deck if you could get the 8 stadiums consistently. But this entire deck would also get shut down by Inteleon V if this becomes a popular deck.
Very true. Yeah, like I said, it's definitely not going to be worth it for sure, I don't think. All right.
This is the deck that when you go to league and the league leader needs you to play the little kid to
Oh, no.
teach you how to play the game, you bust out like your cast form deck.
That's about it. Other than that, do not take it to a regionals. Don't do it. Do not do that. All right. Next up, we've got Volcanion V. This is a single strike Pokemon, and it has an attack for 100 damage. But if it has 10 more damage counters on it, then it does 150 more. So that's what, 250 for 3 energy. You can play single strike energies to boost it up, so on and so forth. Which it's a neat little concept, but it's still meh at the same time. Even if you played, say, cards like Heat Energy, Cape of Toughness, stuff like that to like make it beefier, it still wouldn't really matter. There's just better decks you can play in the fire category. Stupid.
Yeah, I don't really much care for it. I think the damage potential is lacking. We've seen like god tier Volcanions in the past compared to this. I just don't think it's very good.
Exactly. There's plenty of playable Volcanion out there, and this is not one of them. And to
Yeah,
one,
for fire, I mean, like look at Victini. For less energy, you consistently do more damage.
yeah, and it can still one shot this.
Yep. Like
Uh,
this has to be in knockout range. You know,
which even with
for
it,
another attack. Like sure, it's only 10 counters, it's only 100 damage, but I mean, what deck can't do 120 at this point in time now with
even
the
even
power
more,
creep?
yeah, even more than that.
Hmm.
And to one,
There are better welder targets, so automatically gets a no for me. Even like once welder rotates, I just don't see it as strong as Victini, who now only needs like 2 energy attachments and probably has a lot more targets that are V's to make the VMAX, more impressive. So yeah, no.
you heard it here first, everyone. Card is trash. Don't play it. Moving on. All right, now we're getting over to our first major talked about card of this set, which is the Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX, which is, well, both of the Calyrex have been talked about. This one in particular lets you may discard up to 2 energy cards from this Pokemon, which I'm reading this and it actually says any 2 energy in general. And it does, was it 120? Yeah, 120 for each energy you discard in this way. So 250 damage. That's nice. And the fact that we have a fair amount of water acceleration in the first place makes it okay. Yeah, this could be a very fast deck. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that it has metal weakness. But other than that, it can definitely be very solid for sure. Steuben?
Yeah, I like it a lot. We're gonna go into a double triangle format from what I've seen from the Japanese results from the past month now. Going forward with this, I think you've got your potential with Frostmoth. You've also got the option to playing Melanie too with this, and not even having to go the Frostmoth route at all. A lot of the new lists that I've seen recently from Japanese results, they're pairing this with the Sobble and the Inteleon line. That way you can keep grabbing whatever trainer cards and recurring those energy cards. This could even be potential with the uh, the Clara as well. You can grab your riders or your Inteleons and then put your energy back in your hand or whatever. I think that's a good pairing with that. I mean, this has good versatility. You can go one of multiple directions with it, and to be able to do 250 for two, it's pretty pog, honestly.
And I should also know, I actually forgot to mention that it also has another decent attack as well, which could also come into effect, which is the Emperor Ride attack, which does 10 plus and then 30 for each of their bench Pokemon.
Yeah, so you're gonna hit 160 on a full bench or a normal deck, but if you're playing against like let's say expanded or with a Skyfield or standard with an Eternatus, you're gonna hit for what is it, 250? 250 again. Yeah, if they have a 8 bench, you can hit for 250 again.
And you,
For in this case even a DCE and expanded.
yeah, and you don't even have to discard the energy. You know it. And to one, your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a really good card with two very balanced attacks that um, either one that you use is fine. I think like having Emperor Ride is really great because it keeps it from being it keeps it from struggling. I'll say with single prize decks where you'd have to keep up with the energy discard requirements because sometimes 130 isn't enough, and discarding 2 energy every turn to take one prize is going to be hard to do. So I think Emperor Ride's a great like fallback to have. Max Lance, Max like Emperor riding into Max Lance is probably going to let you two shot most VMAXs in the format. Um, I do think the metal is a little risky, um, but it's one of those things where you just kind of accept that if metal is your one bad matchup, it's your one bad matchup.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like metal's there no matter what, and it's just a lot of times it comes down to okay, we're just gonna have to accept the fact that it's there, it's happening, and If we lose, we lose.
And it kind of becomes one of those things that, like, when you talk about like a locals versus a regionals deck, like if you walk into your 8-man locals when they start back up, or if you do them online or whatever, and you know like 4 out of the 8 people are playing a metal based deck, you just change your deck last minute. Whereas when you go to like a regionals with how many people are there and how varied the meta can be, you don't worry about 1 out of your 9 rounds being metal. You just say, okay, that's my round to go eat lunch in.
Exactly, yeah. So, yeah, solid card. It'll see play no matter what, and yeah. So, all right. Next up, we've got Galarian Rapidash V, which is, I'll be honest. I mean, and I tried to find something I can really do with this, and the fact of the matter is, I can't. I honestly can't. It's very meh. They put damage counters until they have 100 HP left. I'm like, okay, okay, so what? And then basically 60, and then another 30 for each energy attached to them. It's like another like psychic based attack, like the old psychic attack, where you just do damage based on energies. It's not very interesting, and I'm not too crazy about this card. I'm not gonna lie. Steuben?
Yeah, I think it's meh. I also think it's getting ripped out of the set and put into a V window box, and I don't know if it's an alternate art or not. So it could actually, it might not even find its way into the set itself.
I know you were mentioning that before we started. I remember that.
Yeah, we're not 100% sure. I know that they have product listings for that box, but I don't know if it's the same artwork or if there's a promo variant that we've missed. Who's to say?
Exactly, and like I said, I mean, either or, it's a card that's going to exist one way or another, and that's all you can really say about that. End to one.
In standard, I think it's horrible. In expanded, I want to like shout out my friend Nick Kirkpatrick on this. Go look up like any expanded regionals that were played when we were still doing in-person play, and you'll see Tapu Koko, Tapu Lele, the damage spread combo beside his name at like every event. And I think like something like this with the Tapu Lele gets really powerful. That like, if your opponent has VMAXs on the field, you can be putting upwards of 200 damage on your opponent's field to damage swap around later. So I think it's got like a potential in expanded, not necessarily a potential live up to, but I think that's like the only place where you can really see an option where like that Libra Horn can put down enough damage counters that you feel good about it.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm saying there's a chance. Even a snowball has a chance in Florida.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on over to some single prizers right here. We got Gardevoir, and this was actually brought to my attention that I missed is the fact that we have this Cresselia from the set, which has the same the same effect as Frogadier. Which, yeah, search your deck for 3 Cresselia, throw them on the bench. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So you gotta think. Cresselia evolves into Gardevoir, it evolves into Gallade. We'll talk about the Gardevoir first. Which I know, like, actually Gallade's next anyway. But yeah, Gardevoir has a nice little ability that's, in a way, reminiscent of Zacian's ability, where the top 2 cards of your deck, choose any basic energy you find there, attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like, and you get to put the other cards in your hand. So it's like a little soft Intrepid Sword, in the fact that you get 2 cards and it doesn't end your turn. And then the attack itself is 60 plus another 30 for each psychic energy attached to that Pokemon. I think that's actually neat in a way. It is neat, but to actually get some real damage going on it, you gotta think it's doing like, what is it, 150 base if you have 3 psychic on there. It seems like you're mostly just going to be 2-shotting stuff. I don't think it might be like that worth it in a way. And there's probably like faster stage 2s regardless. Steuben?
There's a lot to talk about with the 2 of these cards specifically. The Cresselia is insane. We've seen water dupes, how good that's been before. Attacks like that as well. Just to, cheat the system here and drop a stage 1 onto your bench. Even if they take the active out, you've got potentially up to 3 more there. That Cresselia can theoretically evolve into Gardevoir GX and expanded. Any of the older Gardevoirs or Gallades, I think it's got a lot of awesome potential with that. And then the Gardevoir itself, I mean, to be able to attach those energies anywhere to your Pokemon, though, that's what makes it kind of pop, in my opinion. Here, I think like I always talk about Alcremie. If you look at my YouTube channel, there's 2 freaking Alcremie VMAX decks on there. I think this is an awesome partner for Alcremie VMAX to be able to get that, potentially 120 more damage in play, fill your hand up at the same time, get energy in play. Even if you don't use the Gardevoir as an attacker, I think it's a wonderful bench sitter in some decks. And if you do, maybe this thing called Single Prize Showdown 4, it might win that tournament.
I thought it was the third one.
Oh, the third one, this will probably happen afterwards.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. And you did mention yourself a YouTube channel. Should I plug that into mine and maybe in the description area if you still use it?
I mean, it's there. I have intentions eventually to care about it, but at the current moment in time, I'm ill-equipped.
Okay, gotcha, fair enough. N to 1, your thoughts?
I like it, but I don't at the same time. It suffers from the stage 2 problem. I do think Cresselia offsets it a little bit. The thing that I think is like the best for it is that it can automatically provide energy acceleration to any deck that doesn't already have it, because it's not just throwing your psychic energies on there. It's just any basic energy. The one downside I see to this is that not a lot of decks that are competitively viable play enough energy to justify this ability. I mean, the ability is essentially draw 2, which by itself is good, but on a stage 2, it's less good. Because if you're not getting the energy attachment, it kind of just becomes like a less fast trade almost, or make do even.
Right.
Excuse me. But the fact that it doesn't specify a type, so if you do have a competitively viable deck that does play, I don't know, I'd say probably upwards of 13 plus energy, you might have the partner for it right here. I think that Cresselia is better than this is because you go into Gardevoir GX and expanded, and its ability accelerates energy anyway, so why not?
Yeah, true. So a bit of a mixed bag sort of opinion on this card in general, I would say. All right, which actually brings up to the other thing Cresselia can evolve into, which is Gallade, which psychic energy, 60 damage, not affected by resistance. Okay, so what? But then you get for 2 colorless energy, which again could be a twin energy. 60 damage times the amount of your Pokemon's V Pokemon in play. I think when you think about that, I was like, okay, there's definitely still like single prize decks out there that aren't going to run V Pokemon at all, so it's situational. But I think it could still be okay, maybe not spectacular. It's matchup dependent, I would say. Steuben?
Yeah, I think it's just like a potential partner for that Cresselia and Gardevoir. I don't know if it's like the deck per se. Not a lot of decks, maybe after rotation, are still gonna play like a split of like non-V and V Pokemon. I mean, if you look at the Sword and Shield on format tournaments that like Tablemon and Midas Cup have been running, you see a lot of things like Cincino and stuff still getting like shoved in multiple bench spaces there. So most new big decks, I mean, like if you look at water, you've got the Inteleons and such, and the Frostmoth, and Urshifu, you've got Octillery and Houndoom, depending on which variant you go. I don't know if your opponent's ever going to have enough V in play. Once they see that thing coming, they're just going to play around it.
N to 1?
Yeah, I think like this thing does okay at like 2-shotting Vs, and outside of Crobat and Eternatus, like those are the only places you're going to get like your good value on Dynablade for like a 1-shot. And it doesn't really have like enough hit points to survive too much else, so I'd pass on this guy.
Yeah, it's pretty fair right there. I appreciate what it's trying to do, but I don't think it fits in. All right. Next up we have the new Lycanroc, which is a single strike Pokemon, and it's reminiscent of the old Vespiquen in the sense that it does 80 damage, then it does an additional 10 for each single strike Pokemon in your discard pile. Since it is a single strike Pokemon, you can actually run it with Houndoom to accelerate energy, which you'll need to do anyway because it's double fighting for that. The energy cost is a little off-putting, but I say, play with the Houndoom. You can accelerate, no big deal. And then it's of course gonna be a matter of how, like, my biggest issue with this card. I do like it. It's just gonna be the matter of figuring out like the best way to play it, if that makes any sense. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it'll be like a deck around itself. I think it'll find a way to be like a partner to Houndoom and Primeape. I don't necessarily see it like, oh cool, 4/4 Lycanroc. I can see maybe a 2/2 line shoved into that Steaming Mad Strike Primeape deck as like another alternative attacker for the end of the game.
Right, yeah. So it's like, yeah, definitely not in the same sense as Vespiquen as well. Just, it's like, okay, it can attack. That's basically about it. End to one.
The two things that jump out to me that make me not love it right away is the 120 HP is perfect math for Rapid Strike flow, so it's going to be hard to keep more than one on the field. So I think, like Steven was saying, that it's got to be more of a support to something else. The Houndoom engine is nice, and you're going to be like dependent on those single strike energy attachments for like the plus 40, because otherwise it's going to take between 13 and 14 single strike Pokemon, and you're just hard to one shot like most basic Vs. You're never going to one shot VMAXs unless you crazily build the deck. I do think it has like nice synergy with Bruno as a single strike trainer, since you are kind of like banking on stuff dying to fill up your discard pile too. So
Yeah, it's just,
it does what it does. It's that deck that if you have someone new to playing and they don't have like expensive cards or like even good single prizers, that you could build in this deck and they'd be okay with it, but it's not going to be like super great.
yeah. I definitely see this as like more of a gimmick than anything as its own deck. All right. We're moving on right now to Sandaconda VMAX. So we were already talking beforehand, before we even started that, we already don't like the new Sandaconda V. The ability is fine, but the attack is terrible. That's about it with that. But Sandaconda VMAX sticks out because, for numerous reasons, 1 energy for 60, 20 to the bench, that's pretty good. It can pair with Stone Energy to buffer. It can pair with Telescopic Sight to do more bench damage. It can be abused with Cheryl. We all know that we're dealing with a Mew-heavy format right now, but it can be dealt with, though. Just, boss, and you can even run maybe Galarian Zigzagoon in your deck as well to just get rid of it completely and then just keep spreading to the bench. It's basically a cheaper Darmanitan VMAX with less damage, but I still think it could be pretty good. And of course, grass weakness is not really a concern right now. Steuben?
I also see the second attack as like a Guardian clone, being able to move all your energy around like a Kaleidostorm. Kaleidostorm was really good when it came out. Its issue now is that like the metal weakness is the biggest thing with it, but the damage output at being only 150 was kind of a problem. You couldn't really two-shot most things other than tag teams at that point. But with this, 180 times 2 is 360. You're going to two-shot any of your opponent's Pokemon, and again, with moving the energy around, it's like the perfect partner for Cheryl in that case, too.
Oh yeah, Cheryl would absolutely love this card. End to one?
Yeah, I think a Cheryl variant's going to be your best way to play it with like a heavy switch escape rope count, and the Stone Energy helping you like tank with the 320 hit points and not having to risk like losing them so easily because of the GMAX Cyclone. Yeah, I think it's overall pretty solid. I do like the Sand Pulse with the 50 spread, as it does make like GMAX Cyclone threaten a lot of the non VMAX Vs. So 230 will get should get all the basic Vs in 2 hits with that. So that's a positive.
Yeah. So I think we can all agree the fact that we like this card. I think we can all agree on that. It's solid.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we've got Liepard V. Okay, so attack right off the hand is not good. 110, and then you may return this back to your hand. Cool, yeah. I'm glad I wasted 3 energy to power that up. But the ability, however, it's Rattata from Evolutions, where you can put on your bench, discard a tool attached to any Pokemon in play. It could be either yours or your opponent's. Let's be honest, it would only be useful for the ability. Even so, we still have Tool Scrapper anyway. But it's searchable. That's the only thing it has going for it, is you can search this out with a quick ball. Stupid?
Yeah, I don't think it's that overall great. I think it's got potential as like a one-off. Like here we go back to the Eternatus talk. I think it's a cool one-off in there. I mean, you already have like Dangerous Drill now, so again, is it even worth the space? Who's to say? Rattata got played in a lot of things like Mega Gardevoir, where you could, okay, cool, I need to discard my benched Pokemon and you know, put this here, discard your tool, and then discard it for Despair Ray and do more damage. We don't really have anything like that right now to partner this with, to where they can get, you know, full benefit out of it. You can't scoop up net and reuse it like you could at Rattata. I think Tool Scrapper's just better still. We don't lose Tool Scrapper with rotation, so it's really situational what kind of deck you're going to shove this into.
Exactly, and 9 times out of 10, we're gonna like kind of hard pass on this card anyway. End to one.
Yeah, I'll make a throwback to an earlier comment that it's already hard to fit tools into decks as it is. Um, and the only tool that like I really see being consistently played right now are there's 2 of them: Air Balloon and Stealthy Hood, and you can't hit whatever has the Stealthy Hood on it anyway. So that's kind of a bummer. Taking care of the Air Balloon, and I guess also Karate Belt, so maybe 3 tools that you can handle, and you know, only one of those sticks after rotation. So it's hard to justify the space, and like, you know, even if you talk about like Dangerous Drill versus this and Eternatus, I'd rather have the Dangerous Drill because I can kill a special energy card. Whereas, you know, so many decks do play special energy, but I might not be killing a tool card in certain matchups.
Right, exactly. So basically, we're just saying situational to not even being played at all. I think.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, I think like if you had given this like a 1 energy attack cost for like 20 damage and then bounce it to your hand, it would have been marginally better and not enough to play it still, but like the attack's overcost for what it does.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So now we're gonna head on over to Tornadus VMAX. Well, Tornadus V in itself, not very good. Even though, yeah, it's colorless. It's also single strike, so again, it can work with the single strike engine with Houndoom. That's cool. But let's talk about the attacks anyway. So the attacks is basically, well, 2 for 60, big deal. And then for 4 energy, we get 120 damage. But then we also get 120 more damage if there's a stadium in play, and then we discard that stadium. So it's basically playing off that same thing it's always played off of. Besides the fighting resistance and the fact that it can work off the single strike engine, I'm not particularly crazy about this card. Stupid.
Yeah, I think it's garbage, honestly. That 4 attack cost is ridiculous. And I mean, sure, you could play Houndoom to get single strike energy on there and it technically counts. But yeah, I think these are both hard pass.
Yeah, we're definitely passing on that. End to one.
I'll play devil's advocate that Tornadus V with single strike energy can one shot a lot of basics with 60 hit points. Um, so there may be an argument that you could consider playing like 1 copy of the V just to, you know, hit basics for 60 if you know, any decks with those become popular enough.
Right.
At that same counterpoint, though, I think like you could just accelerate to the Houndoom itself in a single strike deck and take that KO there too.
Yeah, I mean, but with the V, I'm not talking about the VMAX, just the V with blow through.
Regardless, I mean, like it's a bench. I think it's a bench space wasted there. You could just still just attach to the Houndour and do 40 and take a donk on like a Bunnelby, or if you're playing, you know, whatever else, still potentially do weakness with Dark type.
I mean, you could. I'm just saying there's one small niche use in a corner of the galaxy. Not saying it's a good niche use. That's the best use I'm going to give it, though.
Okay.
All right. Yep. So that's basically all we have to say about that. All right. We got the for this part of the Silver Lance set. We've got all the trainers. We'll try to machine gun through these quickly. I know we're like an hour 20 in, but yeah, but it's okay. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much. All right. So we'll start off with. We'll try to go through these as quickly as possible. Survival kit. I'll look at the bottom 3 cards. Put them on top of your deck in any order. That's pretty average in my opinion, and don't think it's worth the deck space in my opinion. Steuben?
Yeah, I think survival kit's a pass, honestly.
End to 1?
Yeah, I'm not sold on it. It's not terrible, but not sold on it.
Right. All right. So now we got Imposing Helmet up next. It reads when this Pokemon is attached to your active Pokemon, damaged by an attack, bounce an energy back to their hand. You get to choose the energy. I think aside from control, I don't see too much this can go in. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't really have an option here for it whatsoever.
End to 1?
My pet deck is Flapple V, and so I like it.
Okay. It'll work too. All right. Next up, we've got the Single Strike Scroll of Stab, which all it is just 120 damage for a fire and 2 colorless. No weakness, resistance, any other effects. It gets through effects. That's about it. But other than that, I'm not seeing its worth. Steuben?
Energy cost is awkward at that point. You just play Phoebe for the same reason.
Right. End to 1?
Yep, Phoebe's going to do the job better.
Yep. Card's bad. Moving on. Haha. All right. So now we got 2 sets of gloves right here. We got okay, yeah, they do like the same thing but for different types. Fireproof gloves, break gloves. One works for fire, one works against metal. It's very situational. I don't see it going in anything. Extremely situational indeed. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't really like any of the 4 pairs of gloves that they're giving us. I don't really think we're ever going to use them.
There are more gloves, aren't there? I guess we gotta get. Yeah, once we get to the other gloves, we'll just skip those. End to 1.
Have the same comment of. The comment's just going to be, if there's a fire heavy meta and your deck somehow gets better math by doing 30 or whatever type glove you're looking at. If 30 makes your math better, play them. If that's like the dominating deck, if it doesn't make it better, don't play them.
That's just about it. Yeah. All right. Moving on to some supporters we got. Starting off with Flannery. It's a single strike that lets you choose a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon in any stadium in play and discard them. Originally, I wasn't really crazy about this card when I first read it. However, the fact that we have that Welcoming Lantern, I think makes this a bit better in a way. Could be a one of. That's about all I can say about that. Steuben?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. It's a 2-for-1. Anytime you can get a 2-for-1 when it comes to stuff that can severely disrupt your opponent, that's awesome. I think in current standard now with Swell, even going into Path to the Peak, I think this is an awesome way to get rid of those stadiums and maybe disrupt the energy at the same time. And if you're playing single strike, it's even better because of the urn.
Right. And to 1?
Yeah, I think its best use right now is the Swell, and the Lantern being able to get it back is going to be nice for any decks that get crippled by other stadiums and don't have a counter. It's also kind of nice, like, if you have the same name stadium in hand and you want to Crobat for, like, 1 extra card, you can clear the stadium with it and play your copy of it.
Right. All right, moving on to Doctor. Draw 2 cards. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a VMAX, draw 2 more cards. Plain and simple, it's bad. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't really see a use for it, honestly. You could just... You're better off playing Howl or Hop or Tierno or Jaren just to draw that extra card.
Something
if your
else.
opponent doesn't play VMAX at all, then it's just dead weight.
Yep, something else, anything else. End to 1?
2 letters, 1 word, no.
Okay. Peony is next, which this card makes you discard your entire hand, search your deck for 2 trainers, and put them in your hand. my biggest problem with this card is not only the fact that you're discarding your hand, but it's just very specific of just getting 2 trainers, and it depends on, yeah, what can you even play this with? And then, what, Cricketune works with it, I guess, but I'm not really a fan of Peony, honestly. Steuben?
You can partner with Cricketune, you can partner with Rose Tower. Rose Tower fits it better as like one of your potential 2 trainer cards. I see this bringing back Granbull and expanded with like a more power kind of hungry supporter there for it. Discard your hand. That's already what you want with Granbull. 2 trainer cards you could grab. An Evolution Incense or a Energy Spinner and get your Fairy Energy for Granbull. That's where I see it specifically, like niche, fun meme decks, or maybe there's some sort of combo that we just haven't been able to piece together yet, and this is like the final puzzle piece to that.
Granbull would be pretty nuts, I'd have to say. N-1.
I'm gonna put it on my I like it, but I want to see some deck building from Silverlance and Jet Black Spirit before I can say too much about it. I think it definitely has potential, but that potential is going to depend on a lot of things that I couldn't even name right now. So I'm going to put it on the it's good, but how good is it? That's the question.
Right. So, yeah, we're just differing opinions for sure. All right. Moving on to Melanie. One of the more talked about supporters of the set that lets you attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon V, and then draw 3 cards. So, in a way, it's like Welder. It's like Welder, but it's V specific. It's from the discard pile, and it's 1 energy. It's not Welder, but I respect what it does, and it definitely can still be a very solid card. It probably is still a solid card, honestly. Steuben?
I like it out of the gate with the Ice Rider Calyrex. I like it with Inteleon VMAX. I like it with Lapras, even as like a one-off in that deck. Like if you're like, oh man, I'm just 1 energy short. Here we go. There's your energy out of the discard pile if you can't get your retrievals or your stadium if you're playing training court for whatever reason. I think there's a lot of cool potential, and I think this just gets better every time there's a new water type V, or any kind of V that has like a colorless attack cost can theoretically abuse this too.
Right. N-1?
Yeah, I definitely think this was designed with the Ice Rider in mind, especially because your energy is going to end up in the discard pile. I think it gives Inteleon like something to play besides just training court to get energy back. And yeah, anything that can work off of colorless attack costs, it fits the bill for 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think we can all agree that we do think this is a solid card. All right. Next we have Impact Energy, which is basically a rainbow. It's basically like a rainbow energy for single strike Pokemon, and they just can't be poisoned. I do like it. Just there's not much else to really say about it. You just goes on a it's rainbow for single strike. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't know necessarily like what I would want to put this in. Like if I'm already strike, you can't accelerate this with Houndoom. This is going to be better for some of those off the wall single strike Pokemon that are out there. Like what is it, a Abomasnow that can give you more HP, stuff like that. I
forgot about that.
I don't think
card.
it's that great. I mean, you can prevent poison and can't get poisoned if it's ever, meta relevant for whatever. You could see shove 1 or 2 of these into a single strike deck. I don't think I really care for it too much.
Right. N-1?
It didn't follow that theme of the more single strike cards come out, the better the card can be.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it's just average, but like if there's enough to ever make a single strike toolbox, it'll definitely be, something you include.
Okay. Yeah, fair assessment there. All right, so yeah, we're getting down to the. We just got the Pokemon left for the other set, Jet Black.
We have one very important trainer card that we have to talk about.
We did skip Path to the Peak.
Did we? Oh, snap.
We have to talk about Path to the Peak. There's no way we can avoid this.
How did we pass that? I don't know what I did.
I figured you were saving the best for last.
I don't know. We were here for a while. Yeah, I lost everyone's attention at this point. But yeah, Path to the Peak. I think we've all said that we definitely like this card for what it does, and it's a solid power plant replacement. Actually, it is a power plant replacement. It's not even like solid. It is.
Yeah, it also solves the power plant and expanded issue with like EXs. So I think it's just like the new uh way to go. It even stops breaks and prism stars and all those other fringe Pokemon theoretically in like an unlimited format. It level X shut off. All the Pokemon G and E4 and all those, like if unlimited's ever a thing, I think this is like the end all be all for ability disruption now.
Yep, that's basically hitting the nail on the head right there.
And it's future proof too. If they ever decide to, okay, we've already done EX, we've done GX, we've done V, we've got VMAX, we've got Megas, we've got whatever's coming next. V Unions, those are gonna have a rule box if when we ever see those. And whatever happens after Pokemon V, they go to Pokemon P or Pokemon Q or whatever. Like it's gonna stop those too.
Yeah, like who even knows? But yeah, I think we can all agree that yeah, this is a solid card. It will see play. Not much else to really say about it, honestly.
Yeah, just make sure you're packing Marshadow to deal with Chaotic Swell till that rotates.
Pretty much. All right. Anyway, but I think all right. So yeah, now we're all caught up. I don't even know how I missed that. All right, we got Celebi VMAX. Well, first off, I want to say that Celebi V, I think it's decent for its one attack. The Leaf Dance attack, Lou Leaf Dance. I think it's solid in that regard. Honestly, the only target I can actually picture it going in is Dhelmise VMAX, but we've already decided that Dhelmise VMAX isn't as great as I thought it would be. And then, of course, the VMAX itself for Celebi, it's just heal 20 to all grass, 130, search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, put them in your hand. Not very good for a VMAX, honestly. The ability's nice, but not worth evolving to. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't really much care for either of them. I can see the utility out of the first attack on the V, but again at the same point, like you've got Cherrim to accelerate energy to your not in rule box Pokemon. You've got Rillaboom, which is just like an overall get the cards from the deck. You have to have the energy in your hand in the first place to do this. If the Celebi VMAX had a better attack that did something more, like hey, do 130 and then search your deck for 2 grass energy and put them in your hand, I could see that being a little bit better that way. But again, nah, not really feeling either of these.
And to one?
Big,
Any
big
other
King of
thoughts?
VMAX just is want to laugh at it too. You don't want to be weak to fire and be a VMAX. That just seems bad right now.
Pretty much, yeah. Overall, hard pass. All right, now, speaking of which, now we've got Arctovish V. Uh, okay, yeah, it's water, so you can accelerate to it. However, the attacks, do they stand out? 80 damage for a water and 2 colorless. If the defending Pokemon's a V or a GX, it can't attack. Again, you can just retreat out of that. And then, was it 2 colorless, 2 water for 220, and this Pokemon can't attack next turn? Uh, there's better water Pokemon in my opinion. I don't see this being played. Steuben?
Yeah, it's a pass. If it's a V or GX, it can't attack. Okay, cool. They retreat. They switch. It doesn't matter at that point. Giga Impact 220. I mean, for the same amount of energy, Lapras V can do 210 and protect that energy and put it back in your hand. Ice Rider, better call. Maybe if you're trying to play around the metal weakness on some other water decks, maybe is a one-off there to deal with Zamazenta, but I really don't think it's worth any spot or any deck whatsoever.
And to one?
Okay, I'm not saying I'm a prophet, but I want to say you need to go check out like one of our old YouTube videos on our channel where I talked about for like 20-30 minutes about the fact that we needed a term like Rulebox Pokemon, and like 2 weeks later it came out. So I'm going to make a statement, and if it comes out, you heard it here first. These effects that like if the defending Pokemon is a V or GX, it can't attack during your opponent's next turn, needs some sort of tweak to it, because cards where it says the defending Pokemon can't do whatever just automatically gets so weak in a format that plays a lot of switch cards. So I'd really like to see like a rework of cards like this where I'd almost rather see like Arctovish can't use Primordial Freeze, but it puts an effect on the opponent during the next turn, and then it can't use Primordial Freeze next turn no matter what happens. Because we did see that with like one of the Galarian Surfetched where it can't use Meteor Mash or something as long as it's the active Pokemon or something. So I think like a reword of these abilities would make it good, but right now it's just a bad card.
Exactly. In general, I'm not digging it. All right. So we're gonna move on to Zeraora V next. It's a Rapid Strike Pokemon, a Lightning and 2 colorless, where we can actually run off Rapid Strike energy anyway. But as the attack for 100 damage, if any of your other Rapid Strike Pokemon use an attack in your last turn, then you can do 160 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. I'm kind of on the fence against this one for several reasons. I mean, yeah, it could be its own standalone deck, maybe because Coco V is still in the format and stuff like that. But I'm in a weird spot with this card, I gotta say. Steuben?
I think it's a cool concept. To being able to like, if you did this, do this instead. That 160 is pretty good. At the same time, though, like Cramorant V can hit for 160 on the bench wherever, anyways. 160 becomes less important after rotation as well, without like Dedenne floating around. Maybe you could supplement your Rapid Strike, but at the same time, I don't really know for sure. You could put Telescopic Sight on there and hit for 190 on the bench, but again, what Rapid Strike is attacking before this, other than maybe another Zeraora? Where are you getting the lightning energy from? I mean, there's that Rainbow Rapid Strike energy that we'll look at in a little bit, but again, I just don't know if it would, be able to do it there. If it was maybe like a single lightning energy that said do, less damage and even a little bit lesser, it would be a lot better that way. But I don't know. It doesn't fit into Pikarom. It doesn't fit into Pikachu VMAX. It doesn't fit into any of the new other lightning cards. It's specifically like a Rapid Strike card that's like out of type, out of frame.
Yeah, it's slow, I gotta say. And to one, anything to add to that?
Yeah, the best way I'm seeing this is you get to use it on turn 3, and which is slow, but what I'm seeing is Inteleon V with its slide the energy attack. So you power that guy up first, and then you can slide like the Rainbow or the Rapid Strike energy to fulfill whichever one you don't have in hand. The 130, it's kind of inconsequential, but then like the 160, even with just Passimian down to hit the one was it 30
One,
more damage?
yeah, 190. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Crobat is really good. And then like if you throw the sight on it, then you're up to 240, so you can knock out V's on the bench. So I think like it's very combo oriented, but I'd like to try it when it comes out just to see if you can make the combo work consistently enough. But combo decks that require like that many moving parts seldom do, but it's one of those things that'd be fun to try.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like, as for myself, as I move on to the next card, I definitely think a lot of those moving part decks, they do take a lot of work, but you never know until you try it out. But, alright, so we're going to move on to Cresselia right here, which is very reminiscent of something we already have, which is Volcanion, except for Psychic Pokemon. That lets you search your deck for a Psychic Energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. If you go second, then you can attach up to 3 Psychic Energy to one of your Pokemon instead. It does only say 1 Pokemon. It's not like spread them out like it was for Volcanion, but that's still pretty good for a card that we're going to be talking about right after this. And then 2 Psychic Energy, again, one of the same concepts, 30 damage. If you have 5 more energy in play, it does 90 damage. I think we can all agree that this is definitely a very solid card for Psychic Pokemon decks in general, and including the one that we're going to be talking about next. Steuben?
Dare I have to say it again? Alcremie BDIF with Cresselia.
You heard it here first. And to one?
Yeah, I think anytime you can accelerate energy, it's good. It's another one of those cards that'll make your opponent kind of have to think about going first or second, especially in like open deckless tournaments where they know you play this, and what's more important to them, going second to gain their effect or going second to gain your effect. And the photon laser is like a fine attack because if you go second, you're 1 energy attachment away from using it. So yeah, I like it.
Yep, I think there's not much to really say about that. Except that, yeah, good card. That's going to be paired with this card right here. Probably one of the crown jewels of the set. Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. The basic one is it's okay. They can't attach special energies for 10 and a psychic. The next attack you're probably never going to do that attack. But then we get over to the VMAX itself, and there's a lot to say about this. First off, the ability that lets you attach a psychic energy from your hand to one of your benched psychic Pokemon, then draw 2 cards. And the fact that the attack itself is 10, then plus 30 for each psychic energy that you have in play. That works very well with the Cresselia. It works very well with the ability itself. It's a very strong card in my opinion, and we'll definitely be seeing this being played. Steuben?
Yeah, I like them both. The basic V, Shadow Mist just gives me like callbacks to Chaos Wheel Giratina, where it's just like, oh hey, you can't play stadiums or special energy or tool cards. This you can't, block out tool cards. But again, right now tool cards aren't very important. I don't think going forward they're much more important either. So it's kind of a cool disruption there for like if you're going second, like hey, they're gonna play Rapid Strike Energy next turn and evolve and attack me, then I think that locks them out of that play as well. I mean, you already hit them for weakness, but still. And then yeah, the ability Hellgate. I don't know what they're gonna translate that to, but it's honestly insane. Attach an energy and then draw 2 cards. That's really good. I mean, like that's if Malamar was just like, hey, I'm gonna do a bunch of drugs and go psychotic. I think this is where it's at. The attack is insane. Attached to all of your Pokemon in play. What was that from before? Like Firestorm, Delphox, and there's been so many Pokemon that have had like for every energy attached to all of your Pokemon, then you do even more.
Right.
And what's cool with this is that not only is it big, it's huge. It's got that ability. It's got a good attack. It scales, so you can theoretically one-shot whatever other Pokemon in play if you get a bunch of these set up in once. So if you're going to play a 4/4 line, you're attaching potentially 5 energy that turn. If you have all 4 of these in play, you're going to draw 8 cards on top of still playing a supporter for turn. You're increasing your attack output insanely high, and then you can play Suspicious Food Tin, discard an energy and heal 80, and it makes you a little bit more tankier too. I think it's insane. I think this is like probably BDIF minus the weakness.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And to one.
Like, I love the VMAX, but I almost love the V more with the Shadow Mist locking special energies and stadium cards. I mean, I think that automatically gives like the Urshifus and Mewtwo decks a problem, like denying their special energy. We'll ignore that Mewtwo's already weak to this card, and the fact that with Shadow Mist you can stick Path to the Peak. Like I would almost consider running 1 or 2 memory capsule in this deck to like if I felt like I could take like a slow roll approach with like just Shadow Mist, and kind of slow my opponent down that way. But yeah, Distortion World Gate. Let's go with that. That's what they're probably going to call it. It's super good. Malamar and Zoroark had a baby, and this is what we came up with. So, it's the ability that synergizes with the attack. The attack doesn't cap out anywhere. You don't have to put all your eggs in a basket. You can have your energy spread across multiple Pokemon. It's a super good card.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think this card's getting like a simple trip, like 10 out of 10 right here. All right. All right. So I guess we're heading to the home stretch. We've got both Weezings right here. First we got the Galarian Weezing, which is gonna pair off with this Weezing right here. That states that each basic dark energy attached to your Pokemon with Weezing in the name provides double dark. You can only use, of course, like one of these abilities, but it doesn't change the fact that it pairs well with this new Weezing that just does like 20 plus 20 more for each dark energy you have in play. It pairs well against that. It's a neat little concept they have for like a single prizer for sure. It's not gonna definitely take a lot of knockouts for sure. Maybe like some 2 shots potentially, maybe even a 3-shot, but I think it's okay. Maybe not broken, but okay. Steuben?
Yeah, I like the Weezing pair. I feel like we could potentially see like a little bit of of a resurgence of like Turbo Dark and Standard with Zero Ninja and all that. So I think it's a cool concept. It definitely could probably be partnered with that Moltres we saw earlier in the video. So there's some potential there.
It's potential, yeah. End to one.
I think the biggest limiting factor to this being anything better than okay is that they both evolve from coughing. So you can't like fill your board with enough Weezings. Like even though you only need one Galarian Weezing, like your Galarian Weezing dies and you can never reestablish another one because you worried about getting 3 Weezings down. It's a bad place to be.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like that kind of does create a bit of awkwardness, but like I said, we're not saying this is gonna be like a played deck or anything, but it's at the very least a neat concept. That's all I can really say about that. All right, but yeah, moving on. Where are we at? Metagross VMAX. The regular V itself, not that impressive. It is a rapid strike. So it could work off maybe rapid strike cards, but that all depends on the rest. The VMAX itself, for a metal, search for 2 cards, put them in your hand. Cool. And then you get Gmax Rush, which is for a metal and a colorless. It's 100 damage, and then during the next turn, it does 150 more, which that's okay. But like I said, there's cards like Escape Rope and Boss. I can just reset that anyway. I don't really think this is going to be that viable, honestly. And that Fire weakness right now with Victini running around is just asking for it. Steuben?
I like the Metagross a lot. I think it's the deck that I'm most excited to build other than Shadow Rider and Ice Rider. I see the Magnetic Pull as like a better alternative to Togekiss to an extent. For single energy, you don't have to worry about playing Bronzong as well and moving your energy around to heal with Cheryl. I think you can just play like a control style deck with Metagross. The weakness is definitely a problem for sure with how Victini's gonna probably blow up in popularity post rotation as well. But I think this could be a fun tier 2-ish strategy to play. Definitely has a lot of flaws, but to be able to just search your deck for any 2 cards for a single energy and have 330 HP and tank hits every turn, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. End to one?
Yeah, I was talking about this with someone else the other day that I definitely agree that it does like almost better all around as a control deck with Magnetic Pull. The Gmax Rush is just kind of nice. Like if you find yourself in a place where you want to speed up the game a little bit, like if you've crushing hammered 4 hits in a row and you've got time just to pull back from using Magnetic Pull, great. I do think like the one thing that I agree with is unless Ice Rider checks Victini like super hard, you're not going to be able to play this deck. But if Ice Rider checks Victini hard enough that you go to a regionals and 5 people out of 400 people are playing Victini VMAX, you accept the fact that you got paired with them in one round and cry, but you play it otherwise.
Right. Exactly, yeah. So it's like a bit of a mixed bag. Like I said, I mean, I guess it could be okay. I would have to I would just have to see more, that's all.
Yeah, it's really gonna depend on the meta game if it's gonna be like a tier 2 or a tier 3 deck. I think it starts tier 2, and then depending. Oh wow, I can't even talk sometimes. Pardon me.
No, we're
depending
good.
on like the Victini situation, it's good. And I mean, like you could theoretically hit Ice Rider for weakness there since it does have a metal weakness instead of lightning. So we're gonna go into a weird triangle format where metal beats some water decks, water beats fire, fire beats metal, and on the other
Yeah.
side we're gonna have that second triangle where it's dark fighting psychic, and where they intertwine is really gonna depend on what settles where, is like a tier 1 or a tier 2 deck.
Right, which that is what it is, basically. So just a little side note right now before we move on to the Blissey right here. I did say I was going to talk about the Castform a bit more, but I did skip a couple, so we're just gonna skip the Castform concept entirely for the rest of the video. There's not much else to really say, honestly. But moving on to Blissey actually, which is the it's the final V card to talk about. I I like this card right here, aside from the fighting weakness, but that could be fine worked out anyway because of weakness guard energy. And it basically does what typical Blissies have done in the past. It's basically 10 damage and then another 30 for each energy attached to it in general. After damage, you can attach up to 3 energy cards from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Any energy at all. There's so much versatility with this. I mean, obviously, Porygon Z is a nice little thing you can use it with. You can use it with powerful energy, weakness guard, draw, capture. The list goes on and on and on with the amount of energy you could use this with. Which I think it could be like a pretty neat deck. Maybe not like a top tier deck, but a neat deck. Steuben?
I think it's just like a ramp kind of style deck. Like it self ramps itself to do more damage.
AKA
I think it's
Sentis
cool.
Scorch.
Yeah. I think it's like just like a good ramp option. I think it's a lot of fun. I also could see it potentially being paired with Ditto, where you start with this, attack for the 10, attach the 3 energy from the discard pile. Like, you could potentially pull Ditto into this. If Ditto's got like a welder attachment onto it and you're already like rolling that way, I could see it as like a one-off in like a Ditto deck or like its own ramp style deck. You could play this with Fire and Psychic. You could have Welder, Volcanion, and with Psychic you could play the Cresselia. So you have more of like a turn 2 start with it. So
Right.
I mean, it could be fun. It could be fun.
Yeah, I definitely dig it. N to one, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think I just like the idea of playing like special energies and trying to get them discarded to ramp yourself up. I think like the powerful energy makes a good comeback here.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing on like the 250 hit points, I think you can also look at I can't remember what the name of the potion was that came out, but where like you bounce two energies to heal 120. Like you sacrifice some damage, but at the same time healing the 120 might be big enough. You can throw a Cape of Toughness on here, let this thing sit at 300 hit points.
Oh yeah, Hyper Potion there. There you go.
Hyper Potion, yeah. I think
like that.
you can make it a tank style thing.
Mm-hmm.
Special conditions is great as well.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I
like
think
like a tanky ramp. Yep.
Yeah. So
I
I
like
think
that.
So I think we can all agree this is a pretty decent card. All right. So the last part of the video, we're now going to talk about all the trainers and the last energy. I think there's one last energy, which, like I said, once again, we're just going to machine gun through these as well.
I think there's one more Pokemon we should touch just for a second.
Which is Greedent.
Yeah, I think we should talk about Greedent.
All right. I think my thoughts on this, it's great that there's something that can stop Crushing Hammer, but am I going to dedicate spot in my deck for this for a Squavit and a Greedent?
Maybe it really just depends. It's
all
going to
depends
depend on the metagame. It's going to depend on how popular Yell Grunt or whatever else is going to be floating around. I think it's definitely worth talking about. Maybe like at a 2 out of 5 card. But yeah, I think it's a cool concept. Something kind of needed, but again, space.
Yeah, it's
dark type.
Yeah, this is all about space. Yeah. Oh yeah. So where were we? Oh yeah. So yeah, we're gonna like whip through these trainers. First is the Fog Crystal. Search your deck for either a basic Psychic Pokemon or a Psychic Energy. I think it's safe to say that yes, this will be played alongside the Calyrex or whatever else Psychic support is available. It's strong in that regards. Steuben?
Yeah, it's like the new Mysterious Treasure, basically, at that point. Like, anytime you played a Psychic deck, you played Mysterious Treasure. Anytime you're going to play any Psychic deck at all, you're going to play 4 Fog Crystals. No way of, like, arguing that.
Yeah. N to 1?
Yep. Nothing more to add to that. Just, you're going to play it if you play Psychic.
Yep. So then next up we have 2 other glove cards. Nothing else to say about those. We didn't like the first ones. We're not liking these either. We have the new Rapid Strike Scroll of Skies, which I'm not really a fan of either, honestly. It's a lightning and a colorless to do 10 and then another 50 for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. I don't think that's worth it. Steuben?
If it wasn't lightning attack cost, I think it would be better. If it would stick to like, fighting or water, I think it would, be a cool option. But with it being lightning, yeah, I don't see it being a thing.
Right. N to 1?
Yep. Nope. Gotta pass on that.
Pretty much. And then cool. Next up we have Caitlyn, which is just it's a reprint. It's an exact reprint, does the same thing. The last Caitlyn card wasn't played. I don't think this one's going to get played either. It depends on future rotations, maybe, but other than that, I don't think it's going to get played. Steuben?
The only first thought I have of it with what's relevant now and what could be relevant is, say, for example, you're playing Single Strike with Houndooms, and you have your Single Strike energy in your hand. You don't want to discard it. You don't have an urn to put it back in the deck. You could theoretically put those Single Strike energies in the bottom of your deck. You know you're not gonna draw back into them with a shuffle draw, and then draw cards and then still be able to accelerate the energy. That's like the first major thing I could think of as like a utility for it, but yeah, it really didn't see play when it came out in Plasma.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll really catch on here.
Yes, aside from your point that you made there, there's not much else I could picture this being in. And it's not even a single strike supporter as well, so there's that. And to one, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the alternate being you could also play it in like Rapid Strike if you're playing Octillery, so you can put Rapid Strike cards back just to draw another card, and then Rapid Strike Surge it back out for the turn. But that's not as much mileage as the energy acceleration aspect of it. But I think it's okay in either single or Rapid Strike decks, but I don't think it'll be seen in much else.
It's just so average, it's barely even worth mentioning, honestly. That's just about it, really, with that. All right, so next up we've got Agatha. Move up to 3 damage counters from your active Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's okay in a sense. Don't think it's necessarily game breaking. It's basically just like taking 3 from you, bringing it over to them, like adding 30 damage to an attack in a way, but it doesn't necessarily wow me in a way. That makes sense. Steuben?
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna put this in any deck. I mean, there's abilities that do like the same thing on a lesser scale that's more consistent. Yeah, I really don't have anything super positive to say about it.
Right. And to one?
Yeah, it needed single strike so you could play the lantern with it because if it fixes math, either letting you 2-shot, 1-shot, whatever your opponent's active Pokemon, or making them take an additional hit on you, it's good. But so many of the times 3 damage doesn't matter. So
yeah,
not having access to it whenever with the lantern is kind of killing it.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like I said, it's just better cards out there. This is just not really one of them. But anyway, moving over to next supporter, Peonia, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Yep.
Lets you choose up to 3 of your prize cards, put them in your hand, and then take the same amount of cards from your hand face down as prize cards as well. The first thing that comes to mind with this is like control, expanded, which for a deck that not really anyone's playing is Durant. That's all I can really think of with this one. I like it, but there's not much you can really do with it aside from, like I said, control. Steuben?
I think if it's like a better Gladion in this situation, honestly, it's like they took a Gladion and they're like, well, it was good, people used it, but how can we make it better? And that's what this comes in. I don't see it being really used in standard, like you said, other than a control deck. It's cool. I like it, but I don't think I'm gonna just shove this into, 98% of my decks. It's maybe a one-off in like a control deck.
Right. And to one?
It's another card I would have liked to see with the single strike moniker, because like if you use it twice, you can set your prizes to be whatever. Like if you prize your tech for a matchup, or your second or third copy of a card, and even there, that's not always great because you get it, then your opponent Marnies you or stamps you or whatever.
Right.
I think like an expanded, like another nice little application of this is Jirachi Prism Star. So you can put that where you want it to be, or
right.
It's like the combo deck with less pieces.
I got you. Yeah. So yeah, I think we can say that. Yeah, this is a decent enough card, in expanded at least, or along those lines. All right. Next we got Seabold. Next, just straight up choose 2 of your Rapid Strike Pokemon, heal 60 damage from each of them. It's a Rapid Strike card, but in a way, I don't think it does enough. People are running Cheryl anyway, like say in like Urshifu VMAX and stuff like that. It's neat, but I don't think it does enough. Steuben?
It's cool that it's searchable by the Rapid Strike classification, but again, I don't I don't think like it's a Cheryl replacement. At that point, like heal 60, okay, you could just play potion or whatever else, or some sort of ability heal. I don't think it's that great.
Yep. Into one.
I typically like my supporters to draw or search something. The only time this like works better than Cheryl is when you're not ready to lose all your energy. So like on the turn that you're gonna Rapid Strike flow, and like the 60 damage is relevant to not getting knocked out the next turn, and then you can follow up with Cheryl. But that's when you have to start throwing that many qualifiers on something, it's not good.
Right. Yeah. And it's just yeah, pretty much all fair points right there. All right, we got 3 cards left. Old Cemetery is up next. Whenever a player attaches energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, excluding Psychics, put 2 damage counters on them. Which this pairs decently with the Calyrex VMAX, at least in that regard. Or you can just put in Psychic in general. But I mean, of course, you know the Shadow Rider Calyrex is the first thing that comes to mind. Steuben?
I think it's the partner for Cursula. I think it's Cursula's main issue before was like, you know, they attach and only did so much damage. You played Arctozolt, they attach, you only did so much damage. I think this helps fix that Cursula meme deck and make it a little bit more serious. But again, yeah, I could see it being played with Calyrex to like fix that math there too, for some matchups for your opponents.
So a
It's
missing
not a bad card.
No, it's not. It's a missing puzzle piece, if anything. Into one.
I think for Shadow Rider, you're going to be waiting until Chaotic Swell rotates out to play it, because you're not going to want your opponent sticking the Path to the Peak down and keeping it and losing Hellgate off of it.
Yeah.
But I think like after Swell's gone, this is probably going to be your go-to to counter Path to the Peak.
Right. Which is also fair as well. All right. Next up, we got the Spiral Energy. Same deal as the other energy that we saw before, but this one stops paralysis and it's for Rapid Strike Pokemon, if anything. I guess we can always agree that our same opinions with the Single Strike carries over to the Rapid Strike.
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
A little bit better. Because Raichu's still a thing, and you can search this out with the Octillery if you're playing it, and heal your paralysis to throw off their Tandem Shock.
All right. But other than that, it's just basically the same thing.
Yep.
All right, and then finally we have Lucky Energy. It's a colorless energy that when the Pokemon that's attached to is damaged, you draw a card. Again, this can go with Blissey or any of those type of decks for sure. That's basically where I see this going in. Steuben?
Yeah, Blissey is a cool partner for it. Porygon Z, you can attach this to Cramorant or whatever else. It's cool. I mean, like, it's kind of like a weaker Lucky Egg or a Lucky Helmet at that point, but, you know, it's not bad.
Okay, into one?
It's okay. It does have to be active to get your drawn off with it. So, I mean, you know, a little less good, but still not bad.
It is what it is, yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That we finished it. We did it. All right, so that's all gonna be for this video today. I know it was a bit of a stretch, but hey, there was a lot to cover. We covered it. So I thank you so much to Steuben and to N2One for Game for helping out with this video and taking their time to review the set with me. Like I said, I'm going to put links to both of their channels in the description. I definitely recommend you check them both out. I'll, of course, also have my link in the description as well to check out my channel. I do stream every day, except for Wednesdays from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's about all I can say about that. Subscribe if you like the content, like the video as well. And thank you all for watching, and have a nice day.